That vision is guided by our strategic plan, Accelerate Philly. It is helping us to transform the life outcomes of our children and young people, and so far we've made great progress.
In 2022, I was honored to be hired by the Board of Education, which prioritizes and closely monitors student achievement through its goals and guardrails. The first thing we did together was to build upon the district's foundation of transparency and partnership by hosting over 90 listening and learning sessions with students, district staff, parents, faith-based leaders, grassroots organizations, business partners, and community members. The Listening and Learning Tour kicked off the development of our new strategic plan. Using what we heard during the tour, combined with the vast insights and expertise of our transition team, we launched Accelerate Philly in 2023. Accelerate Philly was designed to be ambitious, and those ambitions have yielded some exciting progress in year one, the 2023-24 school year. Let me share a few examples. First, we know that schools are safe havens for our students, so we have improved staff and student safety measures across schools, and we have refined our process for managing environmental conditions in school buildings. We built upon the foundation of partnership by implementing Let's Talk, a two-way communications and customer service tool that allows us to better interact with, respond to, and ultimately serve Philadelphia parents, families, and caregivers. We also made a significant $20 million investment in our new pre-kindergarten through 12th grade math curriculum and resources. This curriculum has been rated as one of the best in the United States. The resources have already helped to accelerate student achievement. And our teachers are now able to provide more rigorous and engaging instruction that supports all students. And most importantly, we have together accelerated student achievement.
So, from reducing the student dropout rate to increasing the number of students passing state tests, while decreasing the number of students scoring at the lowest levels, and increasing student and teacher attendance. Together, we are accelerating Philly.
Can we all please stand?
Lift Good morning, everybody. We'd like for you to come on in, those of you who are waiting out in the vestibule, to be seated. This is our inaugural event. So you know what that means? Silence all of your phones. Please do that for us. Good morning and welcome to the 2024 State of Philadelphia's Public School Program. On behalf of Superintendent Tony B. Watlington and the entire School District of Philadelphia, we are honored to have you here this morning. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to reflect on where we have been. We're going to share where we are now. And we're going to look ahead to where we're going. Most importantly, today you're going to hear from the leadership, the superintendent, who's going to talk about how we are accelerating Philadelphia, how we're accelerating student achievement through our 5-year strategic plan, Accelerate Philly. Before we get started, we have several dignitaries who have carved out some time in their day to join us. Please stand as I call your name. Audience, please hold your applause until everyone has stood. First, Philadelphia's 100th Mayor, Cherelle Parker. The school teacher here who has a license reminded me that you all weren't listening. Hold your applause. City Council President Kenyatta Johnson, please stand. Speaker of the House, Joanna McClinton. Democratic Chair of the Senate Appropriations Committee, Senator Vincent Hughes. I thought I saw him come in. Chair of the House Appropriations Committee, Representative Jordan Harris. City Council Majority Leader, Councilmember Catherine Gilmore Richardson. City Council Majority Whip and Chair of the Education Committee, Councilmember Isaiah Thomas. Secretary of Education, Dr. Khalid N. Mumin. Congressman Dwight Evans, leading other members of the House, Congressman Boyle and Congresswoman Scanlon. All state senators present, state House members who are present, and members of City Council. Would you please all stand so that we can welcome you appropriately? Thank you for attending, and thank you for supporting the students of the School District of Philadelphia. Now I'd like to introduce a real history maker here in the city, the 100th Mayor, Cherelle Parker. She's the first woman, as you know, to lead the city in over 300 years. Before taking the top spot, she dedicated her life to public service. She's a former public school teacher who has a license, which is important, a state legislator who headed the Philadelphia House delegation, and a member of Philadelphia City Council. She represented the 9th District and rose to become Majority Leader. Now as Mayor, she is leading the charge to unite Philadelphia. You've often heard her say, "One Philadelphia." Join us in welcoming Mayor Cherelle Parker.
Let me start by saying good morning to each of you. The student who just put her own swag on Lift Every Voice and Sing. You are an example of why we are here on today. To Jennifer Melendez, who is a history-making administrator here at CAPA. She is the first Latina administrator, principal here. Wherever you are, Jennifer, thank you so very much. Our children can't be what they don't see, so representation matters. Let me start by saying to each of you that I'm honored to be here alongside so many of our champions for education and to be joining you all for the first time as mayor of our great city. When I was on my way, Dr. Watlington and Board President Streeter, I must tell you all that I felt filled up with a great deal of hope in transition here. And I said, you know, once I mentioned that, there is someone somewhere who's watching this saying, how can you be hopeful? At a time when we're dealing with an ugly moniker as the poorest big city in the nation, 410 homicides last year. Yes, a 20% drop, but the fourth largest number of homicides that we've witnessed here in the city of Philadelphia in 30 years. Neighborhoods that are challenged with another ugly moniker that I have always fought against, being coined Philadelphia, because we are in need of making our neighborhoods cleaner and they should be brighter. I'm here today because you've started this year off, and I must say pretty savvily, Doc. You knew to do this, which is being done for the first time in the history of our city. So give Dr. Watlington a round of applause. Doc, thank you for your leadership. And this is why it's important. It's important because he is providing his strategy via Accelerate Philly prior to the city of Philadelphia beginning its budget process and prior to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania starting its budget process with the mayor's, not the mayor, but the governor's annual budget address. For the people who are watching who are saying, Cherelle, with all that you just publicly affirmed, why are you hopeful? I am hopeful because on February the 7th, 2023, the Commonwealth Court finally got right what we knew for so many years, and that is that our Pennsylvania school funding system was wholeheartedly unconstitutional. Now, the reason why you heard me reference the timing is because there is a group, and I see the chair of our Appropriations Committee in the Senate, Vincent Hughes, standing in the back. The reason why this time is pivotal is because there is a basic education funding committee that is right now determining what those dollars driven to public education will look like for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Extremely important. But for those of us here in the great city of Philadelphia, to the members of city council who are here, because we don't have an elected school board that does not have taxing authority, the legislative branch is the branch that has taxing authority, and the mayor will propose a budget. The reason why this is extremely important is because now is the time for us to decide whether or not our children should be grateful and we should be standing up, giving a round of applause when they're given crumbles of funding when they really do deserve a whole loaf. Part of the way, and I want to say this out loud, Dr. Watlington, you and I have something in common. We're both a bit new at this thing right here in our city, but I do want to give you some advice that I remember giving our former Superintendent Dr. during my tenure in one of the toughest times that this school district had faced when we needed additional recurring revenue, and it was facing at that time, Jerry, I think it was a $310 million structural deficit. And I remember saying to Dr. Dr. while you're here in Harrisburg, I know you're going going to give us the facts, and I know you're going to be agnostic about how we raise the revenue because you're the superintendent. Your job is not to decide the hows. You are doing exactly what you should be doing today, presenting your vision and your strategic plan through Accelerate Philly, and it's our job to make sure we have the dollars in order to get it done. So those challenges, Cherelle, but this great opportunity. What other additional challenges? Persistent issues in teacher recruitment, retention, and diversity. Facilities that are going to require that we do it a different way. I talked to Jordan Harris, our appropriations chairman on the House side earlier this week, and we talked about how do we build new and how do we do it in an innovative way. You know, when I come down to South Philly, I get super proud. You all, have you driven by the school connected to the health center, connected to the library? That's the model. How are we going to deal with violence in the city of Philadelphia? Put our young people on a path to self-sufficiency, give them access to an educational opportunity, and listen, train them and also their parents and caregivers to be skilled in every industry that's thriving in the city of Philadelphia. We should be working with our district and community college of Philadelphia, state, local government partners, business community, philanthropic community, to make sure that our people have pathways of all ages, every race, class, socioeconomic status, and zip code. All of this is interconnected. So, and it really is. Let me say this to you. This is not an easy thing for us to be able to do, Dr. Watlington. This is going to be a tough year. But I would argue to you that I am filled with a great deal of pride. We took a stroll through the city's contribution, $1.87 billion. That's 47% of every dollar flow into the district, city, state, federal. Oh, just 10 years ago, that number was only 1/3 of the district's overall budget, but it's still not enough. So every time, and I'm going to start talking about this a little more, Senator Hughes, because I'm not sure we're connecting the dots. Every time we allow any other branch of government to not make good on their fiscal commitment to the city of Philadelphia, what you say to the taxpayers of our city is, I know your pocketbook is big enough and deep enough and you can shoulder the burden to pay yourself. We have to together right now, federal, state, local government, private sector, philanthropic community, make the funding of public education during this budget cycle, it has to become our #1 priority. The funding of public education. Let me close by saying, and I've got to just talk to you a bit about, listen, we want to work in collaboration with the district, superintendent, child care, pre-K providers, our regional colleges and universities, including HBCUs, of which I am a proud graduate, those CTE programs, working in partnership with the building trades. Those are tools, workforce development tools, that help to give people the ability to take care of themselves by skilling up. Doc, I'm not letting this one go, and I've just got to say it out loud because, you know, I don't ever want to walk out of a room and people say they don't understand my expectation. I support this thing called year-round access to educational opportunities during non-traditional times. Some people refer to it as out-of-school time. I called it year-round school during the campaign. I want to say to you, you can call it whatever you want to call it. But I want our young people to have access to those opportunities year-round. Finally, I want to say this to you, and I want to commit to you publicly, to Dr. Watlington and his team, Board Chair Streeter, all members of the board, and to our parents and our young people. If we're going to build a new system of world-class education for Philadelphia students of all ages, because that includes their parents and caretakers as well. It does. If we want to build this system, we can't go in making ask. He just walked in, our appropriations chairman Harris. You can't We can't reach this goal by just settling for those crumbs. PFT is here. I'm not sure if SEIU is here. I'm not sure if Unite here is here. Every teacher who is here, every administrator who is here, people are going to do everything that they possibly can politically to divide and conquer the city of Philadelphia. You're going to proffer a proposal and somebody is going to try to tamper it down to tell you that it is too much, that is too big. Dr. Watlington, you're being too aspirational. Your vision is too large. If we stay together, put your ones in the air, please. Ones. Well, don't ever say index fingers. The children will laugh at you. Say ones. If when that basic ed funding group is at that table negotiating, if during this budget process, when we go to Harrisburg and we go to council, we do it together, that is how we will demonstrate to this country that we are, let me hear you say, one Philly, a united city. Thank you for your vision, Dr. Watlington.
The mayor has another commitment. You know, it's busy, her first year in office, but we thank her for coming. There are a lot of you who are standing in the vestibule. Please feel free to come down. There are seats along the front. Thank you so much, Mayor Parker. We're going to now hear from our Board of Education President, Attorney Reginald L. Streeter. He's going to share with you why we are here today, our occasion. President Streeter believes in public education. He's a product of it, but he also believes that education is a civil right, also a human right. He's a graduate of Germantown High School. He has 2 children in the Philadelphia Public School District at this time, and he has an incredible story because he knows what it's like to trudge along, to persevere, and then talk about it on the other side. Please join me in welcoming Board President Reginald Streeter.
Wow, I had to follow our 100th mayor. Whew. But thank you all for being here. I'm gonna do my best to stay on task. Good morning. It's great to be here today, and I thank each and every one of you for joining us for an update on the state of public education right here in the city of Philadelphia. You all look beautiful too, by the way. I know we have students, families, community members, educators, district staff, district leaders, charter school leaders, partners, supporters, elected officials, and so many others joining us as I thank you for making the time. It is my honor to provide remarks following a true partner and supporter of public education, Philadelphia's 100th mayor, Mayor Cherelle Parker. To the Madam Mayor who left, I do want to say on the record, we thank you for your commitment and for reminding us that she's not new to this, supporting public education. And we look forward to working with you and your team in the Parker administration. Before I go any further, though, I'll be remiss if I didn't give my flowers to the Board of Education. 8 women who I call my colleagues on the board. We also have some student board reps here as well. And as the only man of the board, I thank you for giving me the opportunity to lead. Seriously. These are amazing women, by the way, amazing women. And I learn from you all every day, and I look forward to serving you and continuing to serve you as your board president. For those that don't know, I am Reginald Streeter, which has been said earlier. I am the president of the Board of Education, which has been said earlier, for the school district. But more importantly, as important, I am a father of 2 young children with a 3rd on the way. We look forward to adding 1 more to the population of the city of Philadelphia in May, with my new wife. And I'm a proud product of public education in the school district. And I'm also a plaintiff's attorney at Feldman Shepherd, and I advocate for Disempowered every day. And I do see my role as board chair as advocating for everybody in this room and everybody that I serve, which to me is the whole city of Philadelphia. I'm really excited to be with you today to see this turnout. Again, your presence says that you care about Philadelphia's children and are ready to join the conversation on why education matters and how you can help Philadelphia's schools and students succeed. Thank you for being here today and partnering with us in this important work. So I'm a trial attorney, so I like to make cases and make points, and I'm going to cover 3 points today, because to me today you are my jury, you are my fact finders. One, what I want to cover first is why public education matters. Two, I want to cover the board's goals and guardrails, and then I want to close the discussion with our path forward. So the first question, why does public education matter? I mean, to most, I think you all would say it's logical, it's clear, but I'm going to make the case anyway, even though I believe everybody in this room believes that. As board president, I often talk about the educational renaissance that is indeed happening right here in Philadelphia. I am proud of the momentum we are building, and I believe the board is also proud of the momentum we are building and the progress we are making to become the fastest improving large urban school district in Philadelphia. I know you're going to hear that a lot today, but as my mother used to say, repetition is the mother of learning, so it's good to repeat things sometimes, multiple times. This began when we got local control back and returned to the district. The district's finances then stabilized and improved. This was evidenced by Moody's Investor Services upgrading district underlying bond rating to stable in 2018, and then further upgraded its rating to positive in 2023. In 2020, the board committed to focusing on student success and achievement in 2020 by adopting goals and guardrails, which is our model of school board governance. In 2022, we concluded a successful nationwide search and brought Superintendent Dr. Watlington Sr. to Philadelphia, who executed an intense entry plan, and indeed it was intense. This entry plan culminated in the board's adoption of Accelerate Philly, a 5-year strategic plan. More recently, we are thankful for our state leaders who are working in Harrisburg, thank you all for coming today, to identify a solution to provide districts across the Commonwealth with fair and equitable school funding to better serve our young people. And just earlier this month, Philadelphia welcomed its first female mayor, black female mayor, who has already proven to be an energetic leader, as you all got to see today, with a strong commitment to our students and school communities, which we also heard today. All of this work is important and moves us toward the same end goal for public education, ensuring that our learners have school experiences every day that empower them to imagine and then realize any future they desire. Whether they want to be a social media influencer or whether they want to be the next lawyer like me, you still have to have a quality education as the foundation for anything a child wants to do. My own journey has been full of twists and turns, from flunking out of college to earning 2 degrees at Temple to becoming an attorney and now serving as the president of the Board of Education in the very district I once attended. I'm not trying to shine a spotlight on myself, but there's nothing different about me than any of our students in Philadelphia. I am them and they are me, and I think we all can say that as well about our students, our own journeys. I believe in my heart of hearts that it was my lifelong love of learning and the foundation that I received through public education that propelled me forward, allowed me to change career paths, and now volunteer and serve the nearly 200,000 students in Philadelphia. Again, it's not about me, but I'm using myself as an illustrative to explain how when public education works and when the village comes together, anything's possible. Many of you will agree with me when I say public education is the cornerstone of our society, as it gives people access to a better life. Whether you are a student who walks to our neighborhood district schools, takes SEPTA to one of our public charter schools, or log in every day to a virtual public school option, our young people are gaining the knowledge and skills they need to graduate, thrive, and become engaged members in our society. Now, some may ask why this matters and maybe even why we should care. I hope nobody in this room would ask that question. But there are naysayers. I do look at Twitter from time to time. Research shows that we all benefit the community at large from the improved social and economic conditions that result with an educated population. When we say educated, the board and superintendent are not just talking about ABCs, 1, 2, 3s. We're talking about educating the whole child, right? For instance, a well-educated population has less unemployment, is less dependent on public assistance programs, and generates greater tax revenue that we can then reinvest in our shared communities and spaces. Now, of course, we're not perfect, and we know there is progress to be made that our students deserve. However, at this moment, I would argue that we sit better positioned than we ever have to take advantage of the opportunity to work together as one Philly, a city united, as our new mayor says. Second point, Goals and guardrails. What are they? I want to talk briefly about the board's goals and guardrails and how we use them to progress monitor tools as a progress monitoring tool to effectuate the increases in student achievement that will further accelerate Philly. When local control of public education returned to Philadelphia, the research was clear that when school boards focus on student learning, they enabled their superintendent and district to better understand priorities and track progress towards student achievement. While I wasn't on the board when it transitioned back to local control, I heard stories that the board was surprised at how often, and I guess how not often, that it focused on student achievement and it focused on the other things that may support it, but didn't really focus and drive student achievement, which is the purpose of why public education exists. First is to educate children, and obviously to do the other things that we aspire to do. Through our engagement with the community and learning from our school boards and experts, we established a vision for public education in Philadelphia that began to monitor progress toward achieving that vision. This culminated in an entirely new model of school board governance, decision-making that is driven by a student-centered approach. This approach has allowed us to set and communicate clear expectations for student success, monitor progress toward those expectations, and adopt budgets and policies that provide supports based on the needs of our students. The goals and guardrails focus on the whole child, which also sets us on a path toward quality educational opportunities, no matter the circumstances that students face outside of school. My next point, what is the path forward? From my life experiences, I can tell you again that my education was foundational. And I also know that it took a village to raise me as a child. It's a both and I understand this because I experienced homelessness, the war on drugs, and its impacts on our communities, and almost all of the other barriers that our children face right here today. And I found that relying on my collective village and tapping into everything I learned as a student gave me the foundation I needed to follow my dreams. And I'm here because I know that we can all come together and be that same collective village that our students need from us, the adults here in this room today. As the board, we will continue to govern through a student-centered approach and continuing to be good stewards of public dollars and resources. I know that Dr. Watlington and his leadership team will continue to implement the strategic plan, Accelerate Philly, with fidelity to become the fastest improving large urban school district in the country. Again, I said it again. And we remain thankful to our mayor, governor, and other elected officials for their continued advocacy for public education and support and partnership in providing our young people with a world-class education. And if today is any evidence, looking at you all that are here, I stand confident that the larger Philadelphia community will support us by celebrating our successes and championing public education. I know many people here today are already invested in the school district by giving your financial support, sharing your time and expertise, and serving as mentors to our learners. Please know that we are grateful, we see you, and we appreciate your generosity. So what can you do to support us? First, I ask that you be aware that good things are indeed happening in this public education system in Philadelphia. We have dedicated and innovative educators who support and inspire our students every single day to learn, grow, and achieve their best. Our educators are superheroes who wake up every day, rain or shine or snow, is that too soon, to educate our children. Our standout staff also recognizes on the state and local level every year are recognized on the state and local level every year for their professional excellence. And we have some amazing students who are eager to learn, grow, and engage with their school communities through the arts, athletics, student government, advocacy, volunteering, and more. Every year, we have graduates who have excelled academically and received scholarships to top-tier schools. We also have students in over 43 career and technical education programs who graduate with industry-recognized credentials or certifications. That means they're on a fast track to good jobs. Second, we hope you will share these positive stories. It matters when you share our stories with your networks of families, friends, and your professional communities to let them know the district and our charter schools offer great opportunities for students, families, and educators to thrive. It is my belief that the importance of sharing these stories is owned by all Philadelphians, even those individuals not directly connected to public education. Remember the quote, I've said it multiple times, I am because we are, and because we are, therefore I am, by John and Beatty. Every day, our school community serves students who I know remind each and every one of you of yourself, your child, or someone in your own village. Indeed, our students are the we are and the I am. Together, our school communities represent and contribute to the beautiful mosaic of every Philadelphia neighborhood. Third, we invite you to get involved by joining a school advisory council, volunteering to tutor, serving as an athletic coach, or joining the board's parents and community advisory council. While philanthropic dollars are very important, we also know the labor of love can be a force multiplier as well and help us get to the goals that we want to get to as a sector of public education. And finally, we ask you to financially support our mission to give every student in our city the opportunity to achieve positive life outcomes. It is what our young people deserve, and it is what will move our city forward for generations to come. In closing, I again thank you for being here. And that concludes my comments. I will now turn it back over to Ms. Braxton. I almost took it away.
I know. Thank you so much, Board President Streeter. We'd like to ask all of the school board members to stand, please. Now it's time to hear from Superintendent Tony B. Watlington, Sr. He was sworn in as Superintendent of the School District of Philadelphia in June of 2022. Did you know that our school district is the 8th largest in the country? Something for you to ponder, a little history fact for you to take away today. He's a collaborative and results-oriented leader. He began his tenure by launching an aggressive 3-phase entry plan where he met with district stakeholders and everyday people just like all of you in this room. He then developed, with your help, the new strategic plan that we've been talking about, Accelerate Philly. It's our plan, not his plan. Prior to coming to the district, Dr. Watlington served as the superintendent of Rowan Salisbury Schools in North Carolina. Under his leadership, he made great strides. The district's 3rd grade literacy ranking in the state's 115 school districts rose from 96 in 2019 to 74 in 2021. In other words, it came from near the bottom to near the top. The percent of schools that met or exceeded state growth targets increased from 55% to 71%. And the percent of schools that exceeded state growth targets increased from 6% to 29%. So it is no question, it is quite clear, he has a track record of moving the needle forward. Now, we believe we're lucky to have him, and we hope you agree with us. We're all working to accelerate academic achievement in the School District of Philadelphia. Please join me in welcoming Superintendent Tony B. Watlington, Sr.
Thank you very much.
Okay, there you go.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so very much for being here today. I want to begin by thanking Mayor Parker for taking time out of her very busy schedule to be with us this morning. I also want to thank President Streeter of the Board of Education. And don't we have an outstanding Deputy Chief of Communications and District Spokesperson in Monique Braxton? Give her a hand. And I'm honored to be on stage with President of the School Fund for the School District of Philadelphia, President and CEO Catherine Epps Roberson. Let's give her a hand. And the Vice President of the Board at the Fund for the School District of Philadelphia, and the Vice President of the CCP, the Community College of Philadelphia, and he's all over this city, Dr. Dave Thomas. Give him a round of applause. Deputy Chief and Spokesperson Braxton recognized our distinguished guests who are here, so from the City Council to the State Legislature, and everyone else who's here, thank you so very much for being here. It says that you value public education and you want to be a part of helping our kids to accelerate in the city of Philadelphia. I do want to say a very special thank you to the board, in particular, Board President Streeter and former board president, we refer to her now as President Emeritus, Joyce Wilkerson and the former Vice President Leticia Ahea Hinton. I still remember the day when President Wilkerson and former President Emeritus Wilkerson and former Vice President Ahea Hinton called me and said, you know, we want you to talk a little bit more with the Board of Education. We may have some interest in you potentially leaving North Carolina and coming to this great city of Philadelphia. And I've always admired this historic city, so I want to say thank you for the opportunity to serve. I don't take it lightly, President Streeter, and I wake up every morning thinking about how can we do a better job in service of the children of Philadelphia. We want them to have the same great opportunities that my children, my 3 children, have had in a public school setting. I was also attracted to this district because of the board's goals and guardrails. Now, Deputy Chief Braxton has talked about how the School District of Philadelphia is the nation's 8th largest public school district, inclusive of the traditional public schools and the public schools who are in the charter sector. And what's different about the School District of Philadelphia, if you ever take the time to watch school board meetings, and I get the time to do that, and I know this is a weird thing, but I watch other districts. I watch the board meetings in New York and LA and Miami and Houston when I get a chance. This is one of those few school districts that's known nationally for its goals and guardrails. Essentially, it means what President Streeter said. The board set some very high aspirational improvement goals, and the board said we're going to spend our time focusing on meeting these goals. And so I want to thank the board for your vision. I also want to recognize that we can't do this work without the support of our unions and in partnership. And I want to ask you to recognize each of our union presidents. I'm going to call their names and ask them to stand. I'll ask you to hold your applause. We won't tell Mayor and former English teacher Parker if you don't follow these rules as a good teacher. First, I want to recognize the president of the School Police Association of Philadelphia Union, Bernadette Ambrose Smith. Would you please stand and be recognized? Thank you for being here. The Mid-Atlantic District Leader for 32BJ Services Employees International Union, also known as SEI 32BJ, John Bynum, would you please stand? And keep standing. Lead organizer of Unite Here Local 634, Kiara Coleman, would you please stand? President of Teamsters Local 502, Commonwealth Association of School Administrators, also known as CASA, Dr. Robin Cooper, would you please stand? Dr. Cooper. And certainly the long-standing and very effective, trip-the-light fantastic president of the Philadelphia Federation of Teachers Union, PFT, Mr. Jerry Jordan, would you please stand? Give them a round of applause. The rumor in the press is that President Jordan may be choosing that next step in his career after June 30, and we wish him the very best. I've learned so much from him, and we're not going to say goodbye on June 30th because I know he's going to still be advocating for the children of Philadelphia. My mentor, Dr. Constance Clayton, said you make sure to work with Mr. Jordan, and I appreciate the opportunity to do it. I want to ask all school district employees if you'll please stand to be recognized. All school district employees, if you'll stand. Thank you. No better district team than anywhere in the United States than this team. And so I want to say thank you, whether you work in the central office as a teacher, a principal, a bus driver, a food service worker, a social worker, or whether you do any other job in this school district, building engineer and the like. You matter and you keep this district moving. And so I want to thank you on behalf of President Streeter and the board. And I want to thank you for your continued partnership. I also want to say that we can't do this work in a school district without great support from the people who are our children's first teachers, parents, guardians, and caregivers. Anybody who's a parent in the School District of Philadelphia, would you please stand to be recognized? Let's give them a big rousing round of applause. I also want to say a very special thank you to some of our key partners, and Deputy Chief and Spokesperson Braxton recognized many of them. There's someone here today who just goes the extra mile to support this district, and I've never, ever seen quite this level of philanthropic support or partnership anywhere in the South, at least in my almost 30 years of work in public education. And I want to ask, and with his permission, I hope you won't mind this, I want to ask a major philanthropist in this school district, who is the retired CEO and president at Aramark, and he leads the Neubauer Family Foundation, is a great school district supporter. Mr. Joe Neubauer, would you please stand to be recognized? Because of the to and through work with the University of Chicago in partnership with the Neubauer Family Foundation, when we look at 9th grade on track, which is an indicator that will help us to improve the 4-year graduation rate, Black boys in our school district have increased their on-track status by 10 percentage points, and Latino boys, Hispanic boys, have increased their on-track status in 9th grade by almost 9 percentage points. That's something worth applauding. Let me tell you why that's so important. If you look over the past 10 years, notwithstanding all the great work this school district has done, and there were many great things that happened over the past decade, the students who consistently perform at the bottom, and we're going to talk about some improvements today, but the students who consistently perform at the bottom are Black and Latino or Hispanic males. And so that kind of extra investment and support and targeted strategy is paying off. I also want to thank the co-chairs of our transition team last year, President of the Community College of Philadelphia, Dr. Guy Generals, and Andrea Custis, the former President and CEO of the Urban League. Let's give them a hand. Last year, upon being hired by the school district of Philadelphia and the Board of Education, we began my tenure by asking the question that the Maasai peoples in East Africa routinely greet each other and ask on a daily basis. Even the warriors in warfare ask this question because they so value their youth. And the question is, and how are the children? The traditional greeting of the Maasai people, and how are the children? I think that's the key question we want to couch this State of Schools address in. How are the children? We can't rest, just like the Maasai peoples, until we can resoundingly, across this great city, answer that question by saying, or answering quite simply, all the children are well. Unfortunately, all the children are not well. It is no secret. But I can tell you that we are accelerating. We are accelerating in terms of the number of students who are passing state tests or scoring at proficient levels on state tests. We are accelerating in terms of student and teacher attendance increasing. We are accelerating in terms of the 4-year graduation rate increasing, and we are accelerating in terms of our dropout numbers going down. Ladies and gentlemen, this represents progress, and in a city, dare I say, as a 2-year Philadelphian, as a very fine, historic, state-of-the-art, great city, I've noticed that notwithstanding all the great people and the great food and art, music, culture, and the fantastic graduates that we have, sometimes our city can be a little tough on itself. That won't come as any surprise to you, but I think that this is a moment where we can just for one moment, not do it very long, but for just one moment, just stop, give ourselves permission to breathe and smile and say we're proud that our kids are making progress. Is it enough? Absolutely not. But let's be proud of the progress nevertheless. Let's give a round of applause. I want to say a couple of words about this fantastic school facility that we're in, that the likes of which I don't think I've seen anywhere across the United States. And I've visited schools in a lot of the 50 states. We're here at CAPA this morning, the Creative and Performing Arts School. The mayor already recognized Principal Melendez, but I'll ask her to stand again. Principal Melendez, where are you? Give her a hand, please. I also want to thank our outstanding Chief of Communication and Customer Service, who led the production along with Deputy Chief Braxton of this inaugural State of Schools address. Chief Alex Coppage, where are you? Would you please stand and be recognized? She's in the back. Give her a hand. You know, when I think about CAPA and the notable alumni who have come through this school, like Boys to Men, 8-time Grammy Award winner and bassist Christian McBride, Questlove and Black Thought, who I got a chance to meet on this stage last year, of the Roots and soulful artist, and one of my favorite, Jasmine Sullivan. It just reminds you of the talent that's all over this city. So we thank CAPA for hosting us this morning. Now I want to get right into the point of talking about how are the children doing and how are we accelerating. Ms. Braxton insisted that we not let this program just drag on, that we get it done and get out, because you guys have busy things to do. Just want to remind you, as Deputy Chief Braxton said, this is the 8th largest school district, the largest school district in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Our students speak and families speak more than 170 languages. Imagine that, a very diverse district. It's indeed an honor to privilege to work with you and work alongside you. We stand on the shoulders of many giants, including my mentor and former superintendent, the late Dr. Constance E. Clayton, who worked hard to break down barriers and to shatter glass ceilings. A woman of her stature left big shoes to fill. I'd be remiss if I didn't commend my predecessor, Dr. William Height Jr., for the 10 years that he served here in the district. I'm hopeful, President Streeter, that I get that same opportunity to match or beat that 10-year record. This work is so important because public schools help to build the middle class. I hear President Joseph Biden say all the time, he talks about the role of the unions, our very important unions in building the middle class. Teachers and public school employees help to build that middle class. Our teachers, our principals, and all the school folks help to build the world's strongest military as well as the world's largest economy. So it's not just about the test scores. The test scores and increasing them is a means to an end in the school district of Philadelphia so that we can make sure that our children have an opportunity to participate in the world's largest economy. If we don't do that in Philadelphia, and if we don't do that in Pennsylvania, and if we don't do that in the United States, we will no longer be the world's largest economy in 20 or 30 years. There's some fantastic students who've come out of this school district. I just want to quickly reference some of them. I just mentioned my mentor, Dr. Constance E. Clayton, who was a graduate, very proud graduate of the Philadelphia High School for Girls. I want to feel free to applaud if you want to. Gloria Allred, the famous women's rights attorney, also a graduate of the infamous Philadelphia High School for Girls. Guyon Bluford, a former NASA astronaut, first African-American to go into space, right here from the city of brotherly love and sisterly affection, and a graduate of Overbrook High School. Kevin Hart, you know him well, actor and comedian, graduated from George Washington High School. Jonathan Mayberry, a New York Times bestselling author, graduate of Frankfurt High School. Jennifer Shahade, a 2-time U.S. Women's Chess Champion, a graduate of Masterman, Julia R. Masterman Laboratory and Demonstration School. Coleman Domingo, I did not know this until I recently saw The Color Purple, the new movie musical, is a very proud graduate of Overbrook High School. That was interesting to learn. He did a good job playing beside Fantasia Barrino, who I do know, who is from High Point, North Carolina. And I used to see her a lot in the school district I used to work in. And last but certainly not least, and there are many, many more, but we couldn't end without, since we mentioned Overbrook High School, the iconic Will Smith, who's a Philadelphia legend. There are many thousands of other students just like this. You know, we've got kids in this school district who are going to be like Representative Jordan Harris and going to be leading appropriations in the Pennsylvania House. We've got kids in this school district who can grow up to be like Senator Vincent Hughes, leading the Democrats in the in the Pennsylvania Senate, and board presidents like Reginald Streeter, superintendents like Dr. Constance E. Clayton, I walked into a school the other day and I spoke to this young man who said, "Hi, Dr. Watlington, I'm with the student government in this school." I shook his hand. I said, "You know, you would be a great superintendent." He said, "Superintendent, I want to be the president of the United States." I said, "Awesome, awesome, awesome, awesome." Our job in that spirit as a district is to prepare students for any future they can imagine, any future they can realize and imagine. And so my charge is to make sure that we do everything in our power as a staff to achieve the board's very lofty, very high goals and guardrails, and to position our district to become the fastest improving large urban district in the country. Now, when President Streeter mentioned that before, there are 3 key things that you can compare large urban school districts on. The reason you can't do apples to apples comparisons to everything, because unlike Western Europe and other places, we have 50 different ways of doing education in 50 different states. And when you drill down in 50 different states, you have hundreds of different ways of doing things in certain school districts. And we don't like standardization in this country. When President Bill Clinton tried to standardize some curricula, he got shot down with Goals 2000. When President Barack Obama tried to standardize some curriculum work across the country with Common Core standards, he got shot down. It's almost impossible to get all 50 states to do some similar things. But here's what we can compare across the board, apples to apples. Number one, there's one test in the United States, and only one, that students across all 50 states and 26 large school districts take. A subsection of students in every school district take this test. It's called the NAEP test, the National Assessment of Educational Progress. It's given every 2 years. Between next week and the month of March, we will have children here in the school district of Philadelphia in the 4th grade and the 8th grade taking those tests. And we are doing our best to make sure they're prepared to do well. Second, we can compare the 4-year graduation rate across large urban districts. And third, we can compare our dropout rate to schools, large school districts across the country. Now, we'll still compare ourselves to the other 499 districts in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. What's different about big city districts is they have a lot of the same challenges in common. Historic underfunding, issues with regard to safety funding, and the like. And so we're pleased to be up to the challenge to do this good work. I also want to just remind you how we got here and how so many people in this great city were a part of this process. And indeed, this is our plan, Deputy Chief Braxton, not Tony's plan, not President Streeter or the board's plan, because so many people had an opportunity to participate in its development. There were 3 phases to the entry plan, to my entry into the district in the summer of 2022. The first involved a listening and learning session that engaged hundreds, thousands of Philadelphians and 90 listening and learning sessions in the first 100 days. That was followed by a transition team led by President Guy Generals of the Community College of Philadelphia and Andrea Custis, former CEO and president of the Urban League of Philadelphia. And it concluded with a project team with lots of people who represented every part of Philadelphia. North, south, northwest, west, southwest, south. I know there's not an East Philly, so you can tell I know a little bit about Philadelphia now. And northeast, and the center city, The whole city was represented on that project team, and it engaged more than 3,000 Philadelphians, and I am sure proud that it culminated into our strategic plan. All of these individuals brought their talent and their expertise and their knowledge of the city to help us determine how do we best do this work. And so when the transition team provided 91 short and long-term recommendations, we were off and running with another project team to develop the strategic plan. And I'm sure excited that Accelerate Philly is making a difference so far. Now, Accelerate Philly has 5 key focus areas, and we're focusing on 62 key strategic actions. What does all that mean? It means that we are prioritizing safety and well-being for our students and our staff is our #1 priority, because schools have always been safe havens for our children. Number two, we're focusing heavily on partnering with our parents, families, and caregivers, not just as partners, but we want to be equal partners because parents are our children's first teachers. And we're also focusing all of our resources, our time, our budgets, professional development around this plan. There are 5 specific areas. Area 1 involves improving safety and well-being. Area 2, partnering with family and community. Area 3, really, really important, in alignment with the board's goals and guardrails to accelerate student achievement. Area 4, recruit and retain diverse and highly effective educators. We want to diversify our teaching force and our workforce so it looks like the City of Philadelphia and the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And Area 5, deliver efficient, high-quality, cost-effective operations. So what's happened in the city and the school district so far? To date, we have begun replacing all analog cameras in 150 schools, thanks to the great leadership of our former Chief of Safety and current Police Commissioner Kevin Bethel, and our current Chief of Safety, Craig Johnson. A lot of work happening in safety. Let's give them a round of applause. In fact, I'd like to ask our interim Chief of Safety, Craig Johnson, would you please stand to be recognized? All right. Now, I know we're going to be okay because, 1, we're going to still work with Commissioner Bethel. Number 2, Chief Johnson came up through the ranks and was a school safety officer here, and he's been in the district for a couple of decades. And if that doesn't wow you, number 3, he goes home and has pillow talk with one of the principals every night. So he knows what's happening out here in these streets. Thank you. We've also, under Chief Coppedge's leadership, launched a 2-way communications initiative called Let's Talk, where we give parents and community an opportunity to make sure we get back to them within 24 to 48 hours. Our parents and community and others have a chance to give us a feedback score on our customer or constituent service from a score from 1 to 10, with 10 being the best. We're piloting that in the superintendent's office. Under Chief Coppedge's leadership, we're going to spread that throughout the rest of the district over time. This year, we're also, under our CFO's leadership, expanding the budget development process so it's more public. At the request of the Board of Education, it's more public and more transparent. After Ori Munson left the school district to become the Secretary of the Budget under the leadership of Governor Shapiro, we found an excellent CFO in Prince George's County, Maryland, who worked in Chicago and Alexandria City and Prince George's County, Maryland. I'm going to ask him to please stand. CFO Mike Herbstman, would you please stand to be recognized? It's also noteworthy that we do this work in partnership with all of our community. I also want to take some time to talk about why we're so focused on results. 1, our children can't wait. 2, the board has set very aggressive goals for us, and so the district is in turn setting annual performance targets that we expect to not only meet but to exceed. And it's important for us to focus on the conditions that will help us improve academic performance. Well, the first thing we noticed is that we can't really accelerate and improve like we need to unless our children have really good what? Attendance. See, somebody was going to say behavior. We don't have that problem. Attendance. We want to improve attendance. If we didn't learn anything else from the COVID pandemic that hit us all in March of 2020, I remember exactly where I was. I went to the gym to work out that morning and was on my way to work, and the governor in the state of North Carolina closed all schools across the state. I think it was March the 13th. We thought we'd be out of school for a couple of weeks and come right on back. And because we were using our hand sanitizers and putting on our masks, and who knew that we would be out of school that long? What we learned from the pandemic in public education is this: the number one learning, children, irrespective of race and ethnicity, gender, socioeconomic status, overall, the majority learn better with in-person learning than remote learning, although there are exceptions to the rule. So as we started this work, we wanted to first zero in on attendance, student attendance. We also wanted to zero in on teacher attendance. Why? If students attend school 90% of the month and 90% of the year, academic performance will automatically improve. We know that. Across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, students attend school 90%, the percentage of students that attend school 90% of the month is about 82%, the historic data says. In the school district of Philadelphia, our regular student attendance, 90% attendance, was at 57%. Last year, our students improved from 57 to 60. Give them a hand. Give them and their parents and caregivers a hand. And our teachers, and the reason this is so important for teachers is this other thing that we know is that according to 50 years of research in the U.S., the number one factor influencing whether students will grow academically, it is not your race or ethnicity. There's nothing in our biology that says we can't all accelerate and achieve. Nothing. Believe it or not, it's not even how much money you have or don't have. Those factors play a role, but they're not the number one factor. The number one factor influencing student growth is a highly qualified, well-supported, and stable teacher over time. That is so important. Now, when you think about in the United States, there's a 50% reduction in the number of people going into teaching to become teachers, going to college to become teachers. We need to be alarmed by that. I do want to commend the teachers in the school district of Philadelphia. The percentage who attend work in school 90% of the month increased from 77 to 84% last year, a 7 percentage point increase. Give our teachers a hand, please. While we were building the strategic plan, we also focused very intently on reducing the dropout rate while increasing the four-year cohort graduation rate. Why is it so important to have this keen laser focus on reducing dropouts? Well, dropouts don't, the research says, the data tells us, don't have as good a life outcomes. They don't have good health care on average. They don't get good jobs. They can't support themselves and their families. And they, quite frankly, don't live as long. The research says this. And in addition to the moral impediment to improve our dropout numbers, we need to do it because it's in our best financial interest. According to a Neubauer Family Foundation report a few years ago, the cost for every child who drops out in the city of Philadelphia, the cost to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and to the city of Philadelphia is $405,000. In 2021-22, our district recorded 3,917 dropouts. Last year, that number was reduced to 3,652, a reduction of 265. It's not good enough. So far this year, the dropout numbers are about 900 or so lower than that, but we can't rest until we get to a point where none of our children drop out of school and feel like they need to be out on the streets or finding whatever way they can survive. I'll never forget my first year as a principal and my first principal meeting. I was a principal of a high school of about 1,400 students, 98% African-American students, and my superintendent called on me in the first meeting. He looked at me and said, "Tony Watlington, how many of your kids dropped out since the first day of school?" And I was so embarrassed because I thought I was a good principal, but President Streeter, I didn't know the answer. On a daily basis, we need to know exactly, from high schools to the city, how many kids dropped out or unaccounted for, and that's the kind of laser focus we will continue. I also want to talk about the academic improvements that have taken place in the district due to a lot of hard work on behalf of our students and scholars and teachers and principals and staff and district office support. We improved in 13 out of 17 academic areas last year. I think that is worthy of an applause. In full transparency, there were areas that we did not do well. In fact, we went in the wrong direction. In Algebra 1 and biology, we went in the wrong direction. Performance did not get better, it declined. Now, we know Algebra 1 is so important, and we know that part of that issue is This new curriculum that we're launching in math called Illustrative Math, K-12, will help us. We're also focusing our resources and supports differently into schools. Upon becoming superintendent, we reorganized the district and created a deputy superintendent model. I want to quickly introduce both deputy superintendents who came here from other parts of the country, and we hired a number of assistant superintendents who are from right here in Philadelphia. I want to begin with our Deputy Superintendent of Academics, Dr. Jermaine Dawson, who came to us from Birmingham, Alabama. Dr. Dawson, would you please stand to be recognized? Track record for improving student outcomes, and Jeremy Grant Skinner, our Deputy Superintendent of Talent, Strategy, and Culture. If you'll please stand. Mr. Grant Skinner came from the school district in Houston, Texas, the nation's 7th largest school district. There were a number of new assistant superintendents who are all working differently to drive resources into schools, and certainly the new associate superintendents, Tomas Hanna and Evelyn Nunez, if you'll stand to be recognized. Longtime Philadelphians. And a number of assistant superintendents, I won't call their names, all of them, but if you're a new assistant superintendent, to include Hildebrand Pelzer, Richard Gordon, L'Oreal Robinson, and An Nguyen, and others, if you'll please stand and be recognized. I want the record to be clear. These are Philly's finest. They've spent their careers here, and I continue to know that the answers for improving achievement are right here in the city of Philadelphia. It is clear that we're moving in the right direction, but we've got a lot of work to do. We believe that our children deserve state-of-the-art learning facilities because they help to make kids feel like we value them, they help them learn better, and they provide us feeling of safety and security. And our kids deserve 21st century learning facilities. Certainly can't say enough about the Board of Education having the vision to appropriate funding. President Schrader, to build some new buildings here, including the new T.M. Pierce School that opened in North Philadelphia earlier this year to the tune of $43.9 million. There are 3 more schools that are in the hopper. Emmy at James Martin School, Lewis C. Cassidy Academics Plus School, and the Thomas Home Elementary School. We are continuing to improve the facilities in the school district, and I'll tell you, we're excited that the board has appropriated $2.5 billion in the capital budget for our learning environments to continue to improve them, make them healthier, and the board has appropriated some $450 million for major renovations. The reason I want to point this out is because sometimes we look at the glass as half empty instead of half full. There's no right answer. I just want to note that notwithstanding all of the facility challenges, there's some significant work going on in this school district as we speak to address the fact that our average age of buildings is 73 years, and we have many schools that are more than 120 years old. And our students deserve the very best. And that requires funding, and it also requires us to have some skin in the game. I also want to extend our arms to you and say thank you. It's important for all of us to have some skin in the game and to make sure that we get our house in order as we ask the state for more help. And so under the board's leadership, some good work happened here even before a new superintendent was hired. We're pleased that, as we shared before, that we have the best financial grade investment credit rating that we've had in nearly 50 years. Last year, it was upgraded, our credit outlook was upgraded from stable to positive, and earlier this year that was reaffirmed. I also want to note for the record that the district received the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting from the Government Finance Officers Association, as well as the Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting from the Association of School Business Officials International. Why is that important? During the pandemic, there was this big, huge debate in Congress, and I can't commend President Joseph R. Biden enough for pushing hard on the 3rd round of ARPA dollars. There were 3 buckets of money that came out. The first 2 had a smaller amount of money for school districts, public school districts. The third bucket gave the biggest share of the dollars. It was passed by reconciliation in Congress with only one party voting for it. And there was the big debate. Look, if you give these school districts more money, they'll just be big government, they'll just spend it, they'll buy stuff, the kids won't get better. In fact, outcomes may go down. We want to challenge that narrative. We're being good stewards of the public tax dollars. We're making improvement. We are accelerating. So we want to make the case, quite frankly, that our children are worthy of additional investment, not just additional investment, but constitutional level investment in our young people, and we're being good stewards of the tax dollars. I also am hopeful that the Commonwealth Court's decision and the fair funding discussions will result in the school district being funded at the levels that President Streeter recommended earlier. According to the Penn State professor who testified, if I'm correct, he said that if the districts across Pennsylvania, not just the school district of Philadelphia, but if all of the districts were funded appropriately in a constitutional fashion, it would equate to $1.6 billion for the school district of Philadelphia. So we remain hopeful and optimistic, and we ask for your support as we continue to push for the funding that our students deserve. Now, we know that absent additional funding, $1.2 billion will leave our budget in September of this year. That $1.2 billion that we received during the ARPA funding during the pandemic, most of it came in round 3 with strong leadership from the Biden administration. I think it's important to note that that will bring our operating budget down to $3.3 million. Most important, we will be looking at a $400 million deficit if we don't get the funding that our kids so desperately deserve. And so that's really important. Now, we're going to work hard to accelerate Philly, but we think our kids not only deserve a used Chevrolet, we think they deserve a Cadillac. And so we want to give them Cadillac funding. Let's applaud to that. Here's what we want to do as I get ready to close and take my seat. Here are the things that we want to give Cadillac-level service to the children of Philadelphia with the funding that we are claiming and that we absolutely aspire and hope and believe will get. We will invest in our parents, families, and caregivers by relaunching the Parent University that I heard from parents across this city that was very helpful, and they liked it during the administration of Dr. Arlene Ackerman. We want to bring that Parent University back and improve it. The mayor spoke to this, so I won't delay. We want to move on the mayor's commitment and priority around extended day and year-round schools. Our kids need more time, not less in school. We want to invest in our facilities so that one day we're going to dream big enough for every student in the city to be in a school that is comparable to T.M. Pierce and the upcoming Cassidy School. We're going to invest in teacher and principal recruitment and retention. Why? Because the research says highly qualified, well-supported teachers are the #1 factor relating to improved student achievement. Principals are the #2 factor, not your race, not how much money you have or don't have, although they play an important role. And I'm just so excited to be on the stage with the president and CEO of the Fund for the School District of Philadelphia, because that fund is partnering with us in this work, and they're going to help us to organize the work across the city. And you'll hear from President Roberson in just a moment. We're going to invest in more job training, the career and technical education areas, the building trades, as Ryan Boyer reminds us all the time, life sciences and that growing biotech industry here in Philadelphia, and we're going to invest more in high-impact tutoring. By all of us coming together, by you giving your time, your treasure, and your talent, we can certainly move on the mayor's vision to be the safest, cleanest, and greenest city, large city in America. And as the Board of Education and I are committed to, we also want to be the fastest improving large urban school district. Thank you. Our children are accelerating.
Thank you so much, Dr. Watlington. Let's give him another round of applause. This is the portion of the program that is called our call to action. It's going to be delivered by Catherine Epps Roberson. As Dr. Watlington mentioned, she's the CEO and president of the Fund for the School District of Philadelphia, and that "for" is important. President Epps Roberson has dedicated her career to maximizing resources for the betterment of the city of Philadelphia and all Philadelphians. She brings valuable experience in coalition building and stakeholder engagement, and an entrepreneurial background to boot, all for the fund. As the president and CEO, she will play a pivotal role in raising funds to support what we describe as cutting-edge, evidence-based initiatives outlined in the strategic plan, Accelerate Philly. Her goal is to improve student outcomes. It's in line with Board President Streeter as well as Superintendent Watlington. Please welcome to the stage, join us in welcoming Catherine Epps Roberson.
Good morning. Thank you, Dr. Watlington, for your inspiring vision regarding Accelerate Philly and how we move the needle forward. I would like to first briefly acknowledge all of our wonderful partners that we have in the room: William Penn Foundation, GSK, Comcast NBC Universal, Settlement Music School, Bearer Foundation, Elevate 215, Neubauer Family Foundation, Temple University, Patricia Kind Family Foundation, Spring Point Partners, Live Nation, Independence Blue Cross, Hillco Redevelopment Partners, the Philadelphia City Fund, the Lindy Foundation, and finally, United Way of Greater Philadelphia and Southern New Jersey. Please join me in giving them a round of applause. For those of you who I have not yet met, and as you have heard, I am Catherine Epps Roberson, President and CEO of the Fund for the School District of Philadelphia. We are the only organization of our kind in the city, and our sole focus is on propelling student success. Over the last 5 years, I can say that we have directed over $30 million to the school district, all in an effort to make sure our children have the resources that they need. The fund is an independent nonprofit organization working alongside the district to identify, manage, on behalf of the district and our donors, corporate, philanthropic, and individual contributions. We leverage public and private partnerships, and we create opportunities for innovative investments in the district. Lastly, we engage with the district leadership to make sure that all of our investments that we make are well aligned with the priorities. Simply put, the district sets the strategy and the fund directs the dollars to accelerate. With Accelerate Philly in hand, and I hope everyone got a copy today, the Fund for the School District of Philadelphia is very excited to secure the resources to support the district in the implementation of this very transformative plan and drive our students to success by 2028. Today is a day that we celebrate our continued partnership with the district, and we pave the way to a future, as you have heard, that will include safe and efficient buildings, increased family engagement, and additional counselors, teachers, paraprofessionals, and principals, the lifeblood of the district, to make sure that they are all equipped with the tools and resources they need to power better school environments. Ultimately, these wins will work collectively to accelerate Philly. And never before, I want to be very clear, never before have we seen such an audacious approach to public education in this city. So thank you, Dr. Watlington, for your leadership here. And this approach is positioned to positively change the trajectory for an entire generation of students. But plans this as ambitious as Accelerate Philly cannot come to fruition without significant investment. As Dr. Watlington said, in order for our students to receive, or to claim, the future that they deserve and desire, we need more dollars. And while the amount seems large, it is not insurmountable. And we know this because we have partners in this room who have already shown that they are ready to invest in our students.